A beautiful love story between a CEO and a poor blind girl. James Carter, the young and dynamic CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the country, had everything a person could dream of. At just 32, he had already amassed unimaginable wealth, success, and power. He lived in a penthouse with views that stretched across the sprawling cityscape. His name was known worldwide, and he was constantly invited to high-profile events, from international business summits to charity galas. But as much as James had everything on the surface, there was something deep inside him that felt empty. His days were consumed by meetings, boardrooms, and the constant pressure of being a leader. In the evenings, he attended lavish dinners and glamorous parties, surrounded by people who admired him for his success. Yet, at night, the quiet emptiness of his apartment consumed him. There was no one there to share his life with, no one to fill the silence. His family frequently pushed him to marry someone from the right background, someone who would complement his success, but James always dismissed their suggestions. He had never been interested in the women they introduced him to. His mind, his heart, his whole being was searching for something different. One day, a meeting with a charity organization changed everything. The group, which supported children with disabilities, asked James to help fund a new community center aimed at giving these children opportunities to learn, grow, and express themselves. It was a cause that resonated with James, so he agreed to visit the center. He wasn't expecting much, just a simple inspection of the project, a quick check to ensure the funding was being used properly. But what he didn't expect was to meet her. On the day of the visit, James was greeted by the children's laughter, a sound he rarely heard in his world of business and luxury. He walked through the center, observing the brightly colored classrooms and the playful atmosphere. But then he heard a voice that captured his attention immediately. It was soft, confident, and filled with warmth. "All right, everyone, let's see if we can play that piece again. Remember, it's about finding the rhythm within yourselves." James followed the sound of the voice and found a woman standing before a group of children, guiding them with such care and grace that it was impossible not to notice her. She was blind. Her white cane rested beside her and her eyes were closed, but her presence in the room was undeniable. She wasn't just teaching music to the children, she was helping them find their own voices, their own sense of worth. Her name was Emily Roberts. James couldn't take his eyes off her. There was something about her that drew him in. Her calm demeanor, her strength, and the way she made everyone around her feel seen, heard, and important. The children looked up to her, not because she was their teacher, but because she gave them something far more valuable: belief in themselves. After the session ended, James couldn't wait to introduce himself. He approached her, offering his hand, but she didn't reach for it immediately. She tilted her head slightly, as if assessing the situation before replying with a smile in her voice. "I'm Emily," she said, her voice gentle but confident. "You're new here, aren't you?" James smiled, slightly taken aback. "Yes, I'm James Carter. I came to see the center, to check on the project." "I'm glad to hear that," Emily said warmly. "We're doing our best to make a difference here." They talked for a while, and James found himself captivated by her insights. Emily didn't speak about her blindness, nor did she let it define her. She spoke about the children, about the work she did, about the joy she found in helping others discover their own potential. James was struck by how real she was. There was no pretense, no hidden agenda. She wasn't interested in his wealth or status. She was simply interested in the world around her and how she could make it better. As the days passed, James found himself visiting the center more and more, not just to check on the progress of the charity work, but to see Emily. Their conversations grew longer, and he began to realize something that he had never felt before. He was falling for her. But Emily wasn't like the women James was used to. She didn't care about the money or the lifestyle that came with his position. She didn't look at him with the same reverence that others did, and that intrigued him. But Emily, too, struggled with her own feelings. She had lived a difficult life. Being blind had never been easy, but she had always tried to see the world in ways others could not. She had grown up poor, and though she loved helping others, she had always kept a safe distance from the idea of romance. She was used to being independent, relying on herself. The thought that someone like James, a man of such wealth and influence, could ever care for someone like her, someone who had so little, who couldn't even see his face, seemed impossible. She told herself it was better to keep things professional, to keep her heart protected from what she knew would eventually be a disappointment. But James wasn't giving up. He returned to the center regularly, and each time their connection deepened. Emily started to look forward to their conversations. They shared stories, dreams, and frustrations. Slowly, the walls Emily had built around herself began to crumble, and she found herself drawn to him in ways she didn't understand. She began to see in him something that no one had ever shown her before: genuine care. James cared about who she was, not what she had. He saw her strength, her beauty, her kindness. And for the first time, Emily allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved someone like him. However, the growing connection between them wasn't without complications. James's family, especially his mother, pushed him to find a woman who could match his status. They expected him to marry someone from a prestigious background, someone who could accompany him to high society events and play the part of a perfect CEO's wife. Emily didn't fit that mold. She wasn't rich, and her life was far from glamorous. Her blindness was a constant reminder of the challenges she faced every day. One evening, after another dinner with his family, James sat alone in his office. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "You need someone who can help you build an empire, James. You can't waste time on someone who doesn't even understand your world." James had always prided himself on his independence, his ability to make his own decisions. But now he was struggling. He wanted Emily. He wanted her in a way that he had never wanted anyone else. He knew it wasn't about the wealth or the power. He had those in abundance. It was about her kindness, her spirit, and the way she made him feel alive. But he also knew the pressures of his family, the expectations they placed on him. The thought of disappointing them was unbearable. The next day, James visited the center again, hoping to find clarity. He found Emily sitting outside, listening to the sounds of children laughing as they played nearby. She smiled when she heard him approach. "I thought I might find you here," she said, tilting her head in his direction. James sat beside her, the silence between them stretching comfortably. Finally, he spoke. "Emily, I don't care about what anyone else thinks. I care about you. I want to be with you no matter what." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She turned her head toward him, her voice trembling. "James, you don't know what you're saying. I'm not the woman you think I am. I'm blind. I don't have the life you're used to." James took her hand gently in his grip firm and reassuring. "Emily, I don't want that life. I want a life with you. I want the person you are, not the things you don't have. I don't care about anyone's expectations. I only care about being with you." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she felt the weight of his words. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a future with him. She had never known someone who could love her so completely, without hesitation or condition. From that moment on, James and Emily began to build a life together. It wasn't easy. There were challenges, of course, society's expectations, the pressures of James's career, and Emily's own fears, but they faced them together. They learned to see each other for who they truly were. James supported Emily's work, using his wealth and influence to fund programs for disabled children. Emily, in turn, helped James understand the value of true connection, teaching him that love wasn't about appearances or status. It was about the people you chose to be with, the hearts you touched, and the ways you made the world better. Their love grew, not because of grand gestures, but because of the small, everyday moments they shared. Laughter, quiet talks, and the simple joy of being in each other's presence. And as they built their future together, James realized that the emptiness he had once felt was now filled with the warmth of a love that transcended everything.